Hey everybody, Stephen GetMoneyMyrick here. Got a very special treat for you all today. We have a bonus Sealand Abyss run for a good guildie of mine. His name's Lilfinch. So Lilfinch, thank you very much for letting us borrow your account. Lilfinch is a very powerful player, as you'll see in a few here, and he's got 119 out of 120 Sealands done and just has Abyss left. So he's given me the honor to try and knock it out for him. He definitely has the heroes to do it. If we check his account, you can see he's got a lot of strong heroes come into play. And he just needs to knock it out. So he said, go ahead and have a chance, and we're very grateful for it. So thank you, Lilfinch. So I'm going to talk about the heroes he has and what you might typically do in an Abyss Sealand build versus what he's got going on. Some of the important things to keep track of and keep in mind. Because his heroes are different than what you typically see in the minimal build. Also, a lot of the guides were done before Ignis came out, and so we'll be playing with her and see how she can affect what we're doing. So we're going to start with Delacium, and so we've gone 3-1 attack, basically just maxing out attack with Delacium, and we've gone Kiss of Ghost. Kiss of Ghost is one of the better artifacts you can use for clearing this. And you can see we have a pretty weak stone on Delacium. It's attack. When I cleared it, I used skill damage attack. That was the most powerful for me, and I had to have a maxed out skill damage attack. But one thing I didn't have going on for me that he has is he has a V3 ticks. He's put all of his resources in, sorry, not ticks, a V3 Delacium. So he's put in all of his resources into Delacium to get him as powerful as possible. You can see he also is out of green goo to get him up to 345. So that's presenting a few challenges for us that you don't necessarily usually have. A lot of times you do have a maxed out stone when you're clearing this. I know I had to get there. But hopefully we'll have enough damage between getting the V3, whereas I just used a V2. The next hero we have is Nakia. He has a 9-star Nakia, and you don't really need anything more than a 5-star Nakia. But having the 9-star, hopefully we'll have a little bit more survivability and get a few more bleeds off. Because the goal when doing Abyss Sealand is basically to apply as many debuffs to the bosses as you can, and then get as many activations with Delacium. And the way we're getting activations are with Cruz, and Ignis. So this is interesting because a traditional guide would have a 9-star Cruz, which is there to help you stun enemies and also to get his active off, and then a 10-star Cruise, because the big thing about 10-star Cruise versus 9-star Cruise is 9-star Cruise only gives 75 energy to a random ally. 10-star Cruise will give you 100 energy, and so the traditional play is your Delacium on turn 2 does his active, and since he has a higher speed he does it first, and then your Cruise is going to use his active and give you 100 energy to your Delacium. So it's very RNG dependent because his active has to land on Delacium and there's nothing to guarantee it. So that's the typical way a budget Sealand build will do. We don't have the 10-star Cruise here. We've got a 9-star and an 8-star Cruise, and 8-star only gives another 75 energy. So we are going to be banking on our Ignis staying alive and giving them 50 energy. So between our Ignis giving 50 and a Cruise giving 75, we'll have enough to get an active off. He also has an Illyria, which Illyria is not a champion I ever used in any of my runs. She does have an extra debuff, which can be pretty powerful. If we're struggling, we may put in Illyria over Cthugha, but we're going to start with Cthugha because that's what I'm familiar with. One thing to keep in mind is Cthugha's active will remove all burns and bleeds. He'll detonate the heroes and remove them. So you need to make sure that your Cthugha does not detonate and do his active at a time which would cause problems. You put him in there for his passive skill, which is when he takes damage, he inflicts burns. So the goal with Cthugha is to apply the burns, don't get your active off, and let your Cthugha die before he gets the active off, because Nakia is going to be doing bleeds here. And so if your Cthugha stays alive and triggers one of those, you're going to have problems. So goal here, like I said, is to let Cthugha die. So we're going to run Cthugha, Ignis, Cruz, Nakia, Delacium, and see how it goes. The other thing that's really challenging in Sealand Abyss is you don't want to have your is the boss. If he gets his active off on turn 1, it just wipes out a lot of your team and does a lot of damage. You really don't want him to get enough energy. So when you're watching these fights, make sure you pay attention to the boss. Does he get the 100 energy or not? And how does that affect us? So we're going to do this build. Oh, let me talk about how the heroes are built real quick. We didn't talk about a ton. So Nakia, we've built tanky because ultimately we just need her to survive and apply the bleed debuffs. Cruise, on one of our cruises we put receptors, so when they go below 50% HP, you have a 75% chance to stun all enemies. So we're basically, this is the cruise that we're hoping is going to give 75 energy on turn 2 to somebody. This cruise here we put on an energy artifact just to apply the actives and put these weakness marks onto enemies. So he's okay if he dies. We do want him to be tanky enough, and we'll have to see if he is here. He should be tanky enough. This is a really weak stone for him, and he's only a 8-star. So he needs to be able to take 1 hit in order to trigger his stun, which, you know, we want to be replicating that stun. And then Ignis here, you can see we built her very tanky. I put the crown on her. He's got the 1-star crown. You could try it with a fearless armor. But I think Ignis will be taking enough to survive for round 2 in order to give the energy to Tix. Also, we can give her, you know, if she does die, she'll give the energy to I keep saying Tix, Delacium. So that's what we're running. I talked about Delacium, and now he's got the 1-3 split with the Kiss of Ghosts. Like I said, that is a relatively weak stone, but he's got power in places that other minimal builds don't have. So we will see how that all comes out. We may try Illyria instead of Cthulhu, but right now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to try this. I'm not the best with Ignis. I think this is the slot position she needs to go in order to fuel Delacium. This could be really awkward if I get it wrong. And we're doing the Phoenix buff, Phoenix pet, which I'm assuming his Phoenix is maxed out. Yeah. Okay, so here's our first run. We'll see how it goes. Gotta make sure we get the 1-time speed. Okay, so you got the active off on the back line, and you can see the boss is getting a lot of actives, which is building up his energy a lot. And we want our Cthulhu to die here, so that's good. So he's applied the bleeds. And so that cruise was not tanky enough. See, he only gave 75% energy there. Why did... Okay, so when she died, she gave him the 100% energy, which was huge. Our 1 cruise not being tanky enough is rough. I think he needs to be like 850. So we're really close. These are the tankiest gear we can do. We could try upgrading his stone a little bit. This is tough. Maybe we got bad luck. Let's try if we do... If we put him up front here and put Nakia in the back. Let's see how that goes. Because then maybe Cthulhu will take 2 hits, and then we'll get an auto attack on this one, and they'll go less than 50%. So he's not taking the boss buff to go down. I also need to figure out why, and again, this is me not knowing Ignis super well, why her active didn't go off. Okay, so there we go. We've got 3 stunned. Our cruise did not feed energy to Delacium. So you definitely need to keep the stuns alive. So having that receptor can be huge. We need to survive here. That's some damage. And we need these burns to last. Oh, 1 more active, and I think this is it. Oh, no! Oh, no! Okay. Let's put a energy, I think we have one. Let's put an energy artifact on Cthulhu. Wait, no, because he's slow. So usually what you want to do, you usually want your Cthulhu to be faster than your Nakia. And we could even talk about that, and maybe this is where we just sub out Illyria and put her put her in. Because he's slower, so if we put that that on him, then he's just gonna blow up Nakia's debuffs. Delacium was much more tanky than I was expecting him to be. That's cool, and that's that V3 Delacium come into play. Mine would not have lasted that long. So let's see what we do here. He dies. He's gonna get his active off this round, which is rough. And for some reason there, our Cruise was not tanky enough to trigger the passive to stun them. So again, we kind of want to watch this boss here, make sure he doesn't get enough energy to do his active. Okay, well, and then random stuff like that happens sometimes, I would notice. And we've got a big problem here, which is Cthulhu's going to blow up the bleed debuffs on things. And I never understood like why that happens. Like, why does the minions sometimes attack Cthulhu first and sometimes attack Cruz first? Maybe somebody that knows. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on. Oh, so close, and we're gonna get it here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So yeah, obviously having the V3 Delacium, I did it with a V2 Delacium, so much more tanky than mine was. The fact that you didn't have to build the stone up all the way is also huge, especially if your plan is to build the Delacium and then regress it later to have a Delacium army, not putting all those resources into the stone that you're going to lose. That's very nice. So this is a nice, interesting take, I think, on the build. I'm going to actually be doing a video later about this, about the power of imprints and the flexibility of being able to move them on to your heroes. Like, he has removed every other imprint from all of his other heroes in order to just pump up his Delacium and make this clear easier. The Ignis is a new twist. You could see the power there, that we're guaranteeing that energy transfer to Delacium, whereas in previous builds, in previous guides, you were always dependent on that RNG of the Cruise passing it off. So that was really cool to see. And honestly, you know, this is not much more expensive than your typical guides. Yes, it's a V3 Delacium, but it's only 500 gems to take what you have currently, regress them, put them all into your Delacium, knock out the seal land, and get it done. And the fact that there's no 10-star cruise, the second cruise isn't even a 9-star, and honestly didn't really do too much at all except for doing that active. It's huge. We didn't end up using the Illyria. The big thing, like I said, if you do this, and you're doing a more budget build, make sure your Cthulhu is not getting his active off and blowing up those burn debuffs. That's a big piece of advice I can give you. Watch the energy on the backline hero. If you have too many energy artifacts, you're going to be hitting the backline main boss with a lot of attacks a lot of times, and so then he'll get his active off and do a lot of damage to you. But with that, Lilfinch joins... he joins the elite club, the 120 club. So he's got all of them cleared. And so I really appreciate Lilfinch. Thank you again for letting us use your account. If you like this video, please give a like, please subscribe. Hopefully I shared a little bit of knowledge with you. Get this knocked out and get to that 120 club, join the party, and I will see y'all later. Bye.